right, so Glenn, you've made us a lovely cake.
I hope it's a lovely cake. It certainly...
Should I have doubts?
I don't know. We'll wait and see. I didn't ice the entire thing. I did more of an artistic icing just between the layers and on top.
That's because you don't like icing.
That's because I don't like icing. Yeah.
It's nothing to do with it. Like, I'm not bothering to ice it.
Very artfully done, don't you think?
I mean, because let's face it. Does anyone really... Okay, there are people who love to ice, and they take great care.
It takes so much
beautiful.
time, and it looks wonderful.
And but it's totally not me. You have to love it.
I don't love it.
No, me neither.
I just want to eat it. As long as the icing is on the cake.
I often don't even eat icing, but
No.
that's okay. All right, so tell me about this cake. What's in it?
Let's taste it first.
Really? You want to taste it first? There's a surprise in it?
There's a surprise.
Ooh. All right, let's see if I can do this with great care. Oh, no, sorry. Got my finger in it. Got my finger in it. Totally got my finger in it.
Dr. Chung's 3D house of cake.
I see it's got some raisins,
Don't think about it.
Don't think about it.
Don't think about it. Just get it out and taste it.
I told you it would take me a while to slice it. Oh, I'm making see, now I'm rushing and I'm making a mess. I'm just going to, there you go, very unprofessional.
So.
All right, I just need to, here. There we go, thank you. Still looks like raisins in it.
Yes, there are raisins in it. It's moist. I love this cake. This is surprising to me.
It's a great cake. It's a cinnamony, spicy cake. It's got a spice flavor to it.
This is surprising to me. I love it. So, here's how I made it. So I started in a large mixing bowl and I mixed together all of the dry ingredients. That's flour, sugar, baking powder, baking soda, allspice, cinnamon, and cloves. And then I move on to the wet ingredients. And that's a can of tomato soup.
Okay. I did a can of tomato soup.
And into the can of tomato soup, you add melted butter, eggs, and milk. And if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe now and smash that notification bell so you find out about our new videos as soon as they come out. And you whisk that together. And then you just dump the wet ingredients into the dry, you whisk it in. I switched from a whisk to a spatula. And then I put in the raisins. And then I split that between two round cake pans that I had buttered and floured. And stuck that in the oven. Brought it out of the oven, let it cool down, and then I put this cream cheese icing on top. And the cream cheese icing is really simple. It's just butter and cream cheese that I whipped together with a hand blender. And you should have both of these at room temperature because you're gonna beat that together and whip it and make it light and airy. You could do it in a stand mixer, you can do it in a bowl with a hand mixer like I'm doing. You could use a wooden spoon if that's all you've got. You could do it in a stand mixer, you can do it in a bowl with a hand mixer like I'm doing. You could use a wooden spoon if that's all you've got. Once you've got it light and airy, you start spooning in icing sugar. Some people call this confectioner's sugar. Whatever you call it, you just spoon it in slowly and beat it in. If you try to beat it in too quickly, it will go everywhere. I'm going to give you a range of how much icing sugar to put in, but really what it comes down to is how sweet you want it to be. So taste it and stop putting in the icing sugar when you reach sort of your level of sweetness. Once you've got it whipped together, you can put this in the fridge and keep it in the fridge covered for a couple of days until you need to use it. Just take it out of the fridge for about an hour before you start to put it on your cake. And that's it. You end up with this cake.
I would never have guessed there was tomato in it. Like it doesn't. I don't.
There's no tomato flavor at all.
I have no tomato.
So this
It's really
this
nice.
cake is in every one of those fundraiser cookbooks that we have from the small town churches and the snowmobile club and the private schools and everyone that ever put together one of those, the ring binder things that you did.
You know what I love about those though? Everybody usually puts in their very best.
Very best recipe. And
so I can see why that's in here.
And I looked through all of those books, and they're all pretty much exactly the same. So the soup company must have come up with this recipe and put it out there at some point as a way to sell soup. And I couldn't figure out what the tomato brings to it because there's no tomato flavor. There is no tomato flavor, and the only thing I can think of is tomato is full of natural glutamines.
Listen to you. Yes, but how does that affect my cake?
So MSG is monosodium glutamate.
Okay.
And that brings this umami flavor. So the natural glutamine or glutamic acid in the tomatoes brings that sort of deep, earthy umami flavor. Which led me to think about all other kinds of other things that have glutamic acid in them. Or glutamines in them naturally.
Mm-hmm. Such as?
Vegemite.
Oh, you love Vegemite.
I do. I love putting Vegemite and Marmite in
So
things.
you're going to put Vegemite in a cake?
I'm going to do this cake again, and I'm going to put Marmite, Marmite, because we're in Canada, and Marmite is easier to get than Vegemite.
Okay, but how do you, the soup has a lot of other stuff with it, though, right? It's got a lot of,
it has water and salt and sugar and all of those other.
Yeah.
So I would have to adjust those things, and I adjusted this recipe. I put milk instead of water. Everybody had water.
Okay.
And I also adjusted the spicing a little bit. Most of them only had 2 spices, and I put 3 in, and I think you could play with that spicing, and
According to what you like.
Yeah, pumpkin spice. You could put pumpkin pie spice in this, and it would taste amazing.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
I just, and some of the cardamom
Or cardamom.
Yeah,
would
there's
be
so
good, yeah.
many flavors that, hey, there you go. All right, well then, Glenn.
I'm amazed.
So what do you call it?
I'm just going to call it tomato soup cake, just like everybody else does.
And all I can hear is the
I know.
voice of the man on the train selling tomato soup in India.
In India, yeah.
Yeah.
Tomato soup, tomato soup, tomato
It's,
soup.
it's not it's a guttural sound to make it travel through the train, but I
So put aside all of your fears and doubts about tomato soup cake, and give this a try.
It's incredible.